Good evening. How was dinner? It was good. Day 3 evening presentations. Are you ready for another awesome presenter to present to you tonight? This presenter has been a meta coach since 2011. He has been a neurosemantics trainer since 2008. Wow. A civil engineering background, 12 years in the construction industry, 22 years in the training industry. His mission and vision are to help make one's person's life a little bit easier to live daily. And now, will you warmly welcome Mizuki.
Thank you, Sean. Welcome back. Good evening to you. How are you feeling? Turn to the person beside you and say, welcome back. Before I begin this evening's presentation, just a couple of points that I would just like to remind you. You know the drill in the sense that the format of the presentation, it will take about 15 minutes. After that, I'll invite someone to come up for the demonstration. And after that, you go and play with it. Are you ready for that? Yes. Now, the next thing is that in this room, I would like to celebrate the different type of learners. You come from different parts of the world, and I notice many of you are visual learners. There are those auditory learners, and the kinesthetic learners, they need to move around. And also I do notice that in today's day and age, there are the smartphone learners. They take out the smartphone in order to take a picture of the slide. I would like to let you know that at the end of the presentation, I'll put up my email address. Those of you who would like to have a copy of my slide, I've translated them into PDF. That if you want them, I'll email them to you. Okay? And for those of you who are print-oriented learners, the pattern is on page 37. You can take a look at that. So are we ready to go? Yeah. When I was first given this wonderful opportunity to be with you to talk about this topic, uninsult-ability. The ability not to take insult. First thing I thought was, is there a story or an event that I can bring to you so that you'll be able to catch on what is meant by an insult and what is meant by not taking insult. And my memory went to an incident that happened about 7 years ago. We were having our yearly celebration. In Malaysia, we call it Hari Raya. In Indonesia, don't you call it Hari Lebaran? Yeah, and probably those of you from Arab countries, you know it is Eidul Fitri. So we were having that, and our family was gathered in my parents' home. And of course, when you have a family gathering, all the little children will be out there playing, having fun. And at that time, my eldest granddaughter was 3 years old. That's right, granddaughter. She's now 10. So 3 years old, her name's Zahra. I call her Grasshopper. Yeah. If you want to know more about that, we can talk later. Now, she was out there playing like any 3-year-old, playing with her cousins. There were, I think, something like 10 of them playing, having a lot of fun. And there was my brother's son. My brother's son was only 2 years older. Thank you, Adrian. Yeah, I do get overexcited. Now, my brother's son was about 2 years older than Grasshopper. He was about 5. And as they were playing, suddenly the boy just smacked her across the face. Now, let me ask you, have you ever received an insult that felt like smack across the face? Any one of you? Okay. Any one of you have received an insult that was slightly less than smack across the face? Okay, thank you. Right? Now, when you got that insult, it felt hard. It must have hurt. How did you respond? Do you respond resourcefully? Or were you suddenly lost for words, not knowing what to say? Or do you just attack the person like a wildcat? How did you respond to an insult? And that's the topic that we are covering this evening. Now, going back to that incident, Grasshopper, when she had that smack on her face, she just looked at the boy with those eyes, curious, as if trying to understand the boy. And she just looked at him for about a minute. And she continued playing on with the other children and with that boy. And guess what happened? Because she didn't react, she responded well. By the end of the day, the boy was following her like a puppy dog wanting to play, because she responded well to what he did. So when we talk about uninsultability, would you like to be able to take criticisms effectively and positively instead of reacting, to respond positively and gain some value for yourself? And how many of you have that experience when you received an insult? You just went into the black hole, not knowing what to do, what to say. Anyone had that experience? Thank you. Would you like to be able to eliminate that black hole? To be able to just respond positively? Insults are events happening. So when insults come your way, would you like to be able to hear out those complaints? Don't you think that insults are a kind of complaint that you are receiving? It may appear painful. Now, when you have the ability to not take insults, this is what this pattern is all about. To not take insults, you'll be able to hear out. What's he saying? What's she saying about that? And how can I make the best use? Would you like to be able to take that? To be able to learn from that, to make good use of criticism. Because the question is, as trainers, are you perfect? Are we perfect? Are there areas that we can improve? Yeah? So part of what we are going to cover this evening is that sometimes the feedback that comes to us appears as if as an insult. Now, when you are able to listen properly and take that feedback, it will help us to grow. And when you are not triggered by an event that is considered as insult by many, when you are not triggered, you'll be able to hear every feedback that is given to you and make choices from there. And you'll be able to make good use of that criticism and allow that criticism or insult to help you to grow. Would you like to grow further? How far would you like to grow as a trainer? So it depends entirely on you, how you respond to so-called insults. Now, another thing that I noticed, apart from some of those benefits that you can gain when you are able to not take insults, I accidentally discovered a meta benefit of not reacting to insult. It happened about something like 15 years ago. It was quite a long time ago. I was invited to conduct a series of training for a large group of lecturers. Series meaning to say they had something like 60 lecturers. Every time I went for training, there were about 20 of them in the room. 3 days for me talking about communication, relationship, and teamwork. And for the first one I went, I had good reception from them. The second one I had wonderful reception. Now, things changed in the third one. Because when I began the third batch, there was one lecturer at the back of the classroom that he seemed intent to object to whatever that I said. Almost every word, every sentence that I said, he would object, saying, "No, that's wrong. I disagree with you. It should be like this, like this, like this." And I was shocked. Initially, I respectfully explained it to him, and he said, no, I disagree with that. Yeah, it should be like this, like this. And it went on almost the whole morning, and I realized that when I began to engage with him, he was taking up time from the others. So what happened was, I began to, instead of responding to him, I just thanked him for the objections that he had. So every time he said, "I disagree with you, you are wrong in that way," and I would say, "Thank you." And I moved on because I need to keep that time. And strangely enough, what happened was we went after lunch and we had tea break in the afternoon. When I came back after that break, he wasn't there anymore. He wasn't there anymore. And after that session was over, I went up to some of these lecturers and I said, "Do you know that lecturer who was sitting at the back who was objecting to what I was saying? Do you know him?" Yeah, we know him. "And what happened? He didn't come back after tea." We ran him out of the class because we couldn't stand him in the class. He was he was interrupting the class. We want to learn, so we just asked him to pack up and go. And that's the accidental meta benefit that I experience when you are uninsult-able. You receive the respect. Would you, as a trainer, like to get that relationship, that respectful relationship between you and the audience? Do you want that? So let's look into this thing we call insult. Now let me ask you, what behaviors from the audience that you would consider as an insult? And what behaviors do you not consider as an insult? I mean, you completed your presentation, and especially in the corporate environment, how many of you do corporate training? Oh, yes, thank you. And in the corporate environment, you need to pass out what they call the happy sheet, the feedback form. And there you go, reading that happy sheet. You get from 1 to 10, you're reading 9, 10, 9, 10, 9, 10, and suddenly one sheet goes 2. Do you consider that as an insult? Or, in the training classroom, somebody keeps asking you a question. 5 times the same question within the last 10 minutes. Do you consider that as an insult? Do you consider somebody asking you testing question, testing your knowledge, testing your ability? Do you consider that as an insult? Yeah. I'm noticing this. Some of you are shaking. Some of you are nodding your head. So what's an insult then? Now, going into a little bit of the definition of insult. Insult is when you question a person's value, intelligence, or appearance. Okay. That's an insult. Speaking or doing something that demeans or devalues the person in some aspect of his or her experience. That's just the description of an insult. So, what's an insult? And for me, the key thing to understand an insult is that word, demean, devalue. Puts the meaning. So what's an insult? If somebody puts a low meaning to your performance and throws it at you, and you catch it and take it, you are taking somebody else's meaning and you say, that's insulting. So who's at source? You or the person? If somebody demeans your presentation and throws that to you, and you go, no, thank you. Ole. So, is that insulting then? So the key thing is you. Are you catching that meaning? Are you taking that meaning from that person? So if somebody is in the room and not wanting to hear you, starting to say all of those demeaning things. You know, in that classroom, that particular lecturer went to the extent that almost every word that I say, he'll go, rubbish, rubbish, because he didn't have any other words. Yeah? Rubbish, rubbish, basura. Melayu, sampah. So it's entirely in your hands whether you want to take that or not. So the key thing about insults is, are you taking it or not? So that's what the uninsult-ability pattern is all about. It's about whenever you receive feedback that you don't feel comfortable about, it's about making the choice. Do I want to receive this, or do I not want to receive this? Now, the thing about insult and criticism is that a couple of distinctions that we need to make here. First is taking insult and not taking insult, being uninsultable, are opposing experiences, and each has specific structure. There is a structure to it. So when we go into the pattern afterwards, I would like you to pay attention to the structure, because it helps you when those events, I prefer to call them events. They are just events that you are faced with. Now, the thing about it is that most people are oversensitive to criticism. Yeah? It could be something as simple as, what have you done to your hair? And you go, what about my hair? Why are you criticizing my hair? Yeah. No, I'm not criticizing your hair. You look handsome with that hairstyle. The thing about criticism is that when you receive feedback that you may feel uncomfortable, first is you want to differentiate between the person delivering you that feedback. Is that person skilled in giving feedback? How many people are skilled in giving feedback? Are you? I wasn't until I took up ACMC. Only then I realized, yes, thank you. Give a big hand to ACMC. Because I was just dishing out feedback and people were just going like that. I never knew what I was doing. I was criticizing them. How many people know how to give feedback? And most people, they learn through what we consider as criticizing. So the person giving us the feedback may not be skilled in giving feedback, and we hear it as a criticism, and because we are triggered by what was being given to us, we say, that person insulted me. So notice that structure. So it's about making a clear demarcation between, does the person have the skill or not in giving that feedback. Now, I'd just like to move. This is an important point that I would like to make over here. Being uninsult-able is not about being uncaring or being dissociated or being dismissive or whatever that people say. Yeah? When people say, you just dismiss it like that. Because when you dismiss or uncaring, you are not listening. There may be some important feedback from there. So it's about listening, observing, and taking in what's good for you and what's valid and what's not valid. What's valid, you use that as empowering feedback so that you can move forward in your future with greater strength. What's not valid, what do? Yeah, you just want to push it away. Even if the person does that deliberately, that's what we call an insult. They deliberately insult. When you know that it is not valid, you can just say, hey, that's not me. Or how many of you have learned that when we were little children, they have this saying, they say, sticks and stones can't hurt my bones. Can hurt my bones, but names will never hurt me. Sticks and stones can break my bones, but names will never hurt me. It's about being able to just push it aside. Now, that was what I was mentioning just now. As coaches, when we are able to distinguish between people's skills in giving feedback, now we are able to, when we receive criticism, we do not react. Rather, we check. Is this so-called criticism coming from somebody who has the skill or not? Oh, this person doesn't have the skill. So it's okay that I don't feel so good it is because the lack of skill. So what exactly is this person saying? That's when somebody criticizes you, then you can ask the person, so specifically, what do you mean by that? So that I can understand you better and make changes for myself. Will that help you to grow further? Yeah. So for this pattern, the elicitation questions for this pattern is that, how do you typically respond to an insult? Remember, what's the purpose of the elicitation question? Yeah. It's about knowing whether the pattern is suitable for that person. Yeah. Would you like to become more uninsultable? How many of you would like to become more uninsultable? Thank you. So I'm about to reveal to you. It has already been revealed in your training manual. Upstage, I'm about to reveal to you the steps for it. Now, the steps for it, the process for uninsult-ability pattern, it has a two-part process. The first part is to elicit the strategy for taking insult. Once you are able to elicit that strategy for taking insult, then we move into the pattern proper. So if you notice in your training manual, just above there are 3 points, just above the uninsultability pattern, that's the eliciting of strategy. The pattern itself, in your training manual, the first part of the pattern is to identify the trigger. Yeah? So, knowing what is the trigger or event that evokes the sense of insult and putting it aside for the moment. The second one is to access the 3 states: the solid sense of self, your response powers, distinguishing map with territory. The reason why we want to access these 3 states is so that you have a solid core of yourself. When something comes, you are not impacted by what's in the environment. Yeah? And to be able to distinguish map with territory so that you don't just take other people's map for yourself, to check with the territory. The third step there is to change the trigger, because in as much as we metastate ourselves, that trigger could still be working. So we want to change some of that sub modalities, or the way that we reframe those triggers, so that they become extinct. They become extinct. They don't trigger anymore. But the moment I was thinking of something that is active and extinct, I'm thinking of the Gunung Agung here, the mountain on Bali. That is an active volcano. So not very nice to be sitting on something active. Is that so? Right? And the fourth step is to access the best states for handling insults. So what are the states that will make you more resourceful when insults come your way, so that you'll be able to create that defense for yourself to not be insultable? Next is to test whether that strategy is working for you. Next stage is to quality control, whether it is useful for you now, is it useful for you in the future, and finally to future pace and commission. So those are the 7 steps. And what I would like to do right now is just to check a little bit over here before I go into the to demonstrate the pattern, is when you do not have this ability to not take insults, what happens with some people is that they tend to react explosively. And maybe some of you are aware of what happened with these 2 gentlemen. Yeah. Prior to the fight, McGregor was deliberately insulting Khabib. And Khabib was sort of taking it. However, he was not uninsultable. What happened was, even though Khabib won the match, he just blew his top. Big fights with McGregor's team, and the fine that he received was more than the prize money. That's what happened. Or you take insults as if it is a feedback. As they say, feedback is the breakfast of champions. Okay? So right now, I would like to invite someone to come up here, a volunteer, so that I can just demonstrate the pattern. And it is the demonstration of how the pattern works. You may or may not get the outcome. What we are focused on is the pattern itself. Now, before that, just a caveat. In order that we are able to run the pattern within the time that we have, I would like to invite from someone regarding this pattern, regarding insult, that from a scale of 1 to 10, not at level 10, because that will take us quite a little bit of time, but somewhere at about level 5. Okay, so any one of you have an experience of an event, an insult that you felt that at about level 5. I would like to invite that person to come up here. Yes. And what is your name? Sorry? Rio. Yes, Rio. And what is it about? Okay. Yeah. Would you like to step up here? Let's give Rio a big hand.
Okay, so how to series up?
That's mute. Okay.
Check. This one?
Oh, that's the power button.
The mute? No?
Yes.
Okay.
Can you check?
Check. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
First of all, Rio, thank you very much for volunteering.
Yeah.
I would like to just go through the pattern with you,
Okay.
and I hope that the rest of you can just follow the pattern. It is in your training manual. So, what was it about? What's the insult incident that you have?
When people questioning my ability, it's like when you mean I need to tell about the events, or?
Yes, a little bit, not
Okay.
too much.
Yeah.
Can you hear his voice? Would you like to
Okay.
speak a little bit louder?
Yeah. Lately, there is a colleague of mine that questioning about my ability because I'm doing it like so many times. It's quite a good score from the others, but he didn't even show up when I'm doing that, and then he just seeing me as like you cannot do this.
Okay.
Yeah, and then suddenly I like. Okay, and suddenly I like, I'm doing this like so many times, and other people they are knowing about what I've done, but why he didn't accept it that I can do that?
Okay.
Yeah,
And what do you think about that criticism?
kind of bit. So I feel that. Yeah, and I see that person is like, I need to get out from him, like that. Yeah.
Okay. So, what do you think about yourself when you receive that criticism?
I feel powerless.
Feel
Powerless.
powerless.
Yeah,
Okay.
Especially when he is doubting me in front of my colleagues. Yeah, and then I suddenly feel like, why he need to say that? Yeah, it's like that.
Okay. Okay. So, what is the significance to you?
The significance, like,
So when your friend criticizes you,
Yeah.
so in terms of significance to you, so how does that affect you?
well, actually, his what he's doing is like doubting and telling to all of the people inside there, and there are a few person that didn't see what I'm done also.
Okay.
So I'm care about what I'm thinking about, what they are thinking about me.
Okay.
So when he's doing that, the significance is like he's make me like my credibility goes down because of his insult in front of the others.
Okay, so you feel that your credibility goes down because he insults you in front of the others.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to check you, how does that make you feel about yourself?
I feel small.
Okay,
Yeah, and then not feel good about it. Yeah,
and about your powers, about your boundaries, how do you feel about that?
it's like powerless because I think about others, about me. Yeah.
Okay, about others, and what meanings do you put to that?
The meaning is like I feel judged, and then I feel has a low score. Yeah, it's like I remember when I in school. Yeah, because in school I'm not quite a good person with a good score.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like that.
Okay, so what intentions do you feel, do you think about the person giving you the insult? What the intentions do you think that that person has?
Actually, I cannot see the good intention because the last time what I know about the person is he is getting personal problems with me.
Okay.
Yeah, and so he does it like just for making fun of me in front
Making
of
fun of you.
college. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So that was the trigger event, your friend criticizing you. So let's put that aside for the moment.
Okay.
Yeah. Now, right now, I would like to invite you to access your 3 states. So this is step number 2. To access your 3 states, the solid sense of self. Now, you are familiar with that pattern to be able to accept that sense of self, self-acceptance.
Okay,
Just
self-acceptance.
access that state.
Okay. Okay.
And accessing. And how do you feel?
Yeah, I feel accepting myself.
Okay. Okay, because I saw you shaking just now a little bit. So I'm just checking. Are you okay?
Yeah,
with that?
okay. It's just like feel I like keplong bahasa Indonesianya apa ya? Oh yeah, release.
Oh, you feel released.
Yeah.
Okay. Now the state of appreciating yourself.
Appreciating myself. Okay. Okay.
And the state of awe.
Oh, okay.
And as you apply it on yourself, notice your state of self.
Okay.
Now, I would like to invite you to access and apply your response powers.
Response powers.
Yeah. What are your response powers? Your power of thinking, feeling, saying, and doing.
The response powers are regarding that insult or no?
The insult is there for the moment.
Okay.
You as a person, you have 4 fundamental powers.
Okay.
What are they?
The
Thinking,
yeah,
feeling,
and behaving,
saying,
and saying.
and doing. As you think of your powers of thinking, do you own them?
Yes.
Can I make you think the way that I want, or do you have that ability?
No, it's mine.
Okay. So how about your power of feeling?
Yeah, as long as protected, no one can interfere my feelings.
Okay. So your power of speech, do you own them?
Yes.
And your power of doing, do you own them?
Yes.
So how does it feel to say that I own this power of thinking, feeling, saying, and doing? Go ahead.
Okay. I own the power of thinking, feeling, saying, and doing. Okay.
Do you have the power to choose in what you think, in what you feel, in what you say, and what you do?
Yes.
Excellent. Now the next one is to distinguish between the map and territory.
Okay.
The map is not the territory. So what you have in your mind is your
My thinking. So,
Yeah.
my map.
yes. And what's the territory out there?
Yeah, the territory is. I don't know how to make the meaning of this because I think that the territories they are, as long as they saying the meaning of the communication is the response what I get.
Okay.
So when they are doing that, there is something wrong with my form of communication. That's why I'm thinking right now.
Okay. Okay. So what they are saying, that's the feedback. That's
okay.
part of the territory.
Yeah.
And what you think, that's your map. Is your map the territory?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
So to be able to distinguish that.
Okay.
And feedback are just words that somebody uses.
Okay.
Okay. And you are creating map from it.
Yes.
Okay. Got that?
Uh-huh.
Right. Let's move to the third step then.
Okay.
Before we move to the third step, I would just like to check because I would like to be doubly sure to make sure that you've got that. So when you think of yourself in terms of your sense of self, a person who is valued
Okay.
and unconditional with your powers and ability to distinguish between your map and the reality.
Okay.
As you think about yourself as that, how do you feel?
I feel I can take control of my thinking, behaving, and feeling.
Do you like that?
Saying, yeah.
Okay, so we'll move to the third step, the trigger. What triggered you that caused you to feel that way?
What triggers me? So the thing that triggers me is when he say it like he's taking some case that didn't work,
Okay,
and that he's applied on me.
okay,
But that case is need to be done with others.
okay.
But he put it all
On you.
Yeah, and then when it happens, I feel like it's not my. I cannot do it alone. But why you does that to me?
Okay, so those are that person's words.
Uh-huh.
They are just words, aren't they? Okay. So, what do you believe about words coming to you?
It's just feedback.
It's just feedback.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, when words come to you, is it an insult or feedback?
Yeah, it's an insult, but it's a form of feedback. So if you want to see it from,
Yeah. So, it's coming to you.
uh-huh.
So, who's making it as an insult? You or him?
Me,
Okay.
myself, because it's the map is not the territory.
Yeah. So, how useful having that frame, labeling that as an insult, how useful is that to you?
Not useful at all.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, what other frames can you put on that on those words?
Yeah, he just saying that because he didn't know that what I've done.
He didn't know what you have done.
Yeah, it's if it's regarding to what you're saying before, it's
Yeah.
like he's not credible to give the feedback also.
He didn't have the credibility to give that feedback.
Yeah.
Right. So, what beliefs and meanings can you put on those triggers that will make it more resourceful to you?
Maybe I think there is something that is missing here. It's like maybe the way that I need to make the works can be done together with the other team,
Okay.
and that because in that context, because we are cannot working together.
You're not
So
working
maybe
together.
that's the problem
Okay.
that he's giving with that feedback.
Well done.
Yeah.
Now, what positive intention do you think that person has in acting that way?
Maybe he want me to be like more caring about the team.
Okay, he wants you to be more caring about that team.
Yeah, and not doing it like alone when I can do it with others. Yeah, and like more to be like coming to them
Okay,
and make them work together with us.
so that you can work together.
Yeah.
Right, wonderful. So let's move to step number 4. I'd like to invite you to access the best state for handling insults. Now, I'll invite you to access a state of a sense of choice, that you have the choice to accept or not accept what comes your way. Do you have that sense? And access the state of saying no gently. No,
No.
it doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit.
How does that feel to you?
It's nice. Very nice. Sorry.
And now just access a strong curiosity state, as if asking, that's interesting, tell me more.
Okay, that's interesting. Tell me more.
Okay. And how about accessing the state of playfulness? If you are playful with that, how does it feel?
Yeah, more fun.
Okay. So taking in all of these states, are there any additional resources that you need to make yourself more stronger, more able to not take insults?
Yeah, just be wise and stop.
Be
Wise and stop for a minute and do all the things that you have the option, and then not just like let it flow and taking it control of me. Yeah, it's
Okay.
like that.
okay. So I'd like to invite you to access all of the states and just amplify those. And just anchor that. What do you see?
I see the more powerful of me.
Okay. And what are the words that you hear coming from you? You're thinking about them. What kind of words?
It's okay when they are doing the playful things like
Okay.
that. Yeah, we can learn something from others when they are saying something to us.
Okay.
In the form of like what we call it maybe an insult before.
Okay.
Yeah, but yeah, it's quite fun to find the curiosity that knowing what's the things behind it that we can.
Okay.
accept.
Go back into that state
Okay.
and anchor it in terms of your visual, auditory, kinesthetic anchors.
Okay.
Okay. Break state. Do that NLP break state kind of thing.
Okay.
And I'd like to invite you to access that again.
Okay.
Is that the gesture you're using?
Yeah.
Okay, good. May I invite you to do that again?
Okay.
Go ahead.
The shaking thing or
Just the state.
Okay.
Just access that state.
okay.
Now, what was the insult again? That event?
Yeah.
If you were to bring that event again?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And as you do that,
Do that. Yeah. It's just a feedback.
sorry,
It's just a feedback.
just the feedback.
Yeah.
So as you look at the event now, it's, what is it?
Yeah, just a feedback.
It's just a feedback.
Yeah.
Okay. So how does that make you feel?
Awesome because I have something to do again.
Oh, something that you can gain
Yeah.
from that. Okay. Yeah. And do you like this?
Yeah, it's nice to know that he can also help me to achieve something with the team.
He can help you to achieve something for the team.
Yeah.
Wow, that's wonderful. Don't you think so? Okay. So is this something that you want to keep?
Yeah.
Will it be useful for you
Yeah.
in the future?
Uh-huh.
So if you were to imagine yourself in the days and weeks and months to come, moving into the world with this state and receiving criticisms
Okay.
around you, and from this state, you are facing those.
Yes.
How does that feel?
It feels nice. Yeah, because I can learn something.
Does that work for you?
Yeah.
Would you like to keep it?
Yeah, it really helped me.
Can I take it?
No?
Okay, it's yours then.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Right. I hope that by observing that demonstration, it gives you more idea of how to run the pattern. And what I would like to do next is to invite you in the next half an hour, 15 minutes each, to practice with a partner. Are you ready to do that now? Okay, so please find yourself a partner and you may begin.